Hey everybody, it's time for an update on those Gerber daisies that I had purchased from QVC way back in February. So ordered them in February, did a video all about ordering online and ordering from television. Then in June when they arrived, I did a whole video on planting them and talking about that experience. Well, now I can show you some blooms. I have to admit, I am thoroughly impressed with the blooms on these plants. They've been going nonstop for over 2 weeks, which is really great. So the first one to open was this light pink, and it started with 1 bloom and then 2, 3, and then filled right up. So every couple days there seems to be another one opening, and it's been really great. And the original blooms are still here, so I've done no deadheading. So they last a really long time. I mean, it's gonna be easily 3 weeks, probably even longer based on it. So I'm happy with that. Got to say the foliage on these are fantastic. Like they're this rich green, supple leaf. Looks really great. The only thing I have to be careful of is that I don't get water on the leaves because we have hard water, and so I end up with water spots if I get water on them. So I got to watch out for that because I love the color of the leaves and how beautiful they are. Next one to open was this yellow, followed by the burgundy, and then this one here, the purple, just opened this week. I am still waiting for the blaze to open, and that was the new color this year. It was an exclusive to QVC and Roberta's Garden, and that's the one I really want. I did look, and if I look under the leaves, I can see there is 1 blossom starting. So that's a good sign, because once that first one comes, then there's more following, hopefully. So I'm thrilled with it. I will say that the blossom sizes are a little smaller than what I think I saw on television. So the yellow is probably the biggest. The burgundy is probably next in line as far as size. So they're big, but maybe not as big as I saw. And I don't know if that's just because it's an early bloom and maybe the future blooms will be a little bigger, or maybe because this is a hardy Gerber daisy, maybe next year's blooms will be bigger. I'm not sure, so I've got to test that out. And I say it's hardy, but it's only hardy to zone 6, which is not hardy for us. We are zone 4 or 5, which means these will not make it through our winter, but I specifically put them in these containers so that I can try to overwinter them. I've got an indoor space that I'm going to put them in. They can't go to temperatures below -10 Fahrenheit. That's -23 Celsius. If they go below that, then they're not going to make it. And these are called the Majestic Double Gerber daisies is the variety. And I got to say, so far I'm very impressed with how they're doing. In the comment section on my previous videos, a lot of you had talked about either that you had really great success with your plants from QVC. Others said, didn't really go so well for me. The plants were really tiny. They didn't do well. They didn't grow. And I will make sure to mention that those plants do tend to come in quite small, so you have to be aware of that. And they do show you in the segment, and they show you on the website what they look like. You need to take a mental picture when you're watching those segments of what kind of plant you're going to get, because they're doing all this time spent showing you these beautiful big plants, and it's very easy for you to just kind of skim over the part where they go. And this is what it's going to look like when it comes. And speaking as someone who has grown a lot of small plants from plugs into big plants, you also have to be a little bit more patient. So you can't expect to put it in the pot and you're going to have it at full size in 2 weeks. And you won't see that kind of growth that you might see if you put a 1 quart plant into a pot this size. You need to be a little more patient, because for those first up to probably 2 weeks, you can expect that plant to be developing its roots. So you might not notice a lot of growth up on top. Then once it starts, it can be a little bit gradual. And then, once it's in there for a good couple weeks, that's when it puts on its growth, and it takes a little while to put on its show. So you have to really be aware of that. The other thing that is really common when people are dealing with plugs and putting them into a pot like this is a 14-inch pot. If you're putting a small plug in here, you have to be very cautious about how you're watering it, because it can be very, very easy to overwater something like this. You have to remember you have a big pot with a small root set there. So every time you're watering it, it might not need that much water because there's not enough plant yet to be taking up water every single day. So when I first put these in, I was just checking the water. I checked it every day at first. Then I realized they only needed water once, maybe twice a week. And then as time went on, I'm still right now only watering them probably maybe every other day, maybe a little less than that. But I think we're getting to that point right now where they're going to need water every day. So it's kind of a progressive thing. As the plant gets bigger, it's going to need more water. I would recommend, if you're putting them into a pot like this, make sure you pre-moisten your soil and get it to a point where the soil is wet and it's holding water. But if you squeeze it, you don't want to be wringing out water. That's too wet for these. Those roots can't go into that super wet water. Remember, roots not only need the moisture, but they also need oxygen to be able to produce new roots and grow into that soil. And if you have too much water, those roots will drown, they won't develop, and it's not a good thing. So make sure that you're keeping that in mind when you're putting them in there, and then just try not to overwater. And when they're tiny like that, they can be really susceptible to drought. So if you skip watering and it completely dries down, they don't have any reserves because they're still small plants, and that can be really a bad situation. Your plant can definitely quickly die if it's just a tiny plant and it doesn't get any water. So be really careful about that. Otherwise, I haven't really had to do anything with these. I do notice this particular flower is a little deformed, so I've got to keep an eye on, keep looking to see if there's any signs of any kind of bugs or anything, because sometimes a deformed flower is the first signal that there's some kind of bugs going on. And this season, it seems like every pest under the sun is out. So I'm paying attention to it, but I mean, I'm not so worried that I see one flower that's misshapen. It might just be a fluke on this, but I'm quite happy with what I see. Now, I will say my sister-in-law ordered a lemon and a lime tree at the same time I ordered these. Her lemon came in beautiful. Her lime tree, something was wrong with it. It hardly had any leaves on it, and it looked really, really rough. And so she had to make a claim on it, and they were quick to just refund her the money on it. And it definitely was not anything she did. There was something wrong with that particular plant. So it is a good idea to inspect your plants when you first get them to make sure that they're in good shape. All the ones I got were great. Like I said, her lemon was perfect. Her lime, not so much. So that's something to watch out for. Otherwise, I'm very thrilled with what I see so far. I'm so curious to see how they're going to overwinter. I hope they do. I'd love to be able to have these every single year. They're just beautiful. They're really bright. I mean, there is something about Gerber daisies that bring a little bit of sunshine into the yard. I would love to be able to enjoy these year after year. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope I put them in the right spot. I keep debating whether I put them all in one area that I know is pretty good, or do I put them in like 4 different areas to see which spot's better. But then I think, oh, then I might lose one. But then if I put them all in one, I might lose them all. So it's a tough decision. So fortunately, I still have a couple months before I have to decide what I'm going to do with them. For now, I'm just going to enjoy these flowers. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.